How to broil steak. If you're craving a nice, tender steak but don't have access to a grill, fear not. Broiled steak is just as delicious as its grilled sibling, and you can make it in your oven using little more than a cast iron skillet. Steak, 1 to 1.75 inches, 2.5 to 4.4 centimeters, thick. Olive oil, 1 tablespoon, 15 milliliters, per steak. Salt and pepper to taste. Part 1. Prepping and searing the steak. 1. Choose a tender cut of steak. Some steaks will broil better than others, so you should take care when choosing cuts of meat. For broiling, choose a tender cut of steak like a sirloin, porterhouse, ribeye, toploin, eye round, or T-bone. 2. Let the steak come to room temperature. You can use any kind of steak you want, from flank steak to top sirloin. Just be sure that the steak is between 1 to 1.75 inches, 2.5 to 4.4 centimeters, thick. Remove the steak from the fridge and set it on a plate on the counter for 20-30 minutes so it comes to room temperature. Sticking cold steak in the oven may cause it to cook unevenly, so it's important to let it warm up a bit. If the steak is frozen, completely thaw it in the fridge, which may take up to 12 hours. Avoid thawing meat on the counter, which could cause harmful bacteria to grow. Once it's thawed, remove it from the fridge and allow it to warm up to room temperature. 3. Place a cast iron skillet in the oven and turn on the broiler. While the steak is coming up to room temperature, you can preheat your skillet and oven. Set the oven dial to broil. Make sure the rack you're using is about 4 to 6 inches, 10 to 15 centimeters, from the heating element. Use oven mitts to move it if necessary. Then, place the cast iron skillet on top of the rack and allow it to heat for 5-10 minutes. If your steak has both high and low broiler options, opt for high. If you don't have a cast iron skillet, use a stainless steel frying pan instead. Do not use a non-stick frying pan. The very high temperatures involved in this cooking process can damage the non-stick coating and cause harmful particles from the coating to end up in your food. 4. Season or marinate the steak as desired. Less tender cuts of meat will be more tasty if you marinate them first. If you have a favorite rub, seasoning, or marinade for steaks, feel free to use it. Otherwise, you can rub about 1 tablespoon, 15 milliliters, of olive oil over each steak, then season both sides with salt and black pepper. You can make a delicious marinade from 1/4 cup, 59 milliliters, of soy sauce, 2 UST/BSP, 30 milliliters, of Worcestershire sauce, 3 tablespoons, 8.4 grams, of minced garlic, 1 teaspoon, 3.1 grams, of garlic powder, and half a teaspoon, 1.6 grams, of onion powder. Alternatively, try a steak rub made from 1 minced garlic clove, 2 teaspoons, 6.2 grams, of paprika, 2 teaspoons, 6.2 grams, of ground coriander, 1 teaspoon, 3.1 grams, of dill seed, half a teaspoon, 1.6 grams, of dry mustard, 1/4 of a teaspoon, 0.8 grams, of cayenne pepper, and salt and black pepper to taste. 5. Remove the skillet from the oven and place the steak in it. Use an oven mitt to remove the cast iron skillet so you don't burn your hand. Carefully place the steak in the skillet using tongs. Due to the heat and the oil, it will spit and sizzle. Leave ½ inch, 1.3 centimeters, or so of space between the steaks in the skillet. 6. Sear the steak for 3 minutes on each side. Put the skillet back in the oven and close the door. After 3 minutes, carefully remove the skillet and use tongs to flip the steak over. Then, put the skillet back in the oven, close the door, and broil the steak for 3 more minutes. 1. Turn the oven to 500 degrees Fahrenheit, 260 degrees Celsius. After searing the steak for 3 minutes on each side, turn the oven dial from broil to 500 degrees Fahrenheit, 260 degrees Celsius. This will allow your steak to finish cooking to the desired temperature and level of doneness. You don't need to flip the steak again, simply leave it in place for the duration of the cook time. 2. Cook the steak for 1-5 minutes if you like it rare. If your steak is 1 inch, 2.5 centimeters, thick, cook it for 1 minute. If it's 1.25 inches, 3.2 centimeters, thick, cook it for 2-3 minutes. If it's 1.75 inches, 4.4 centimeters, thick, cook it for 4 or 5 minutes. The steak should reach a temperature of 120 to 130 degrees Fahrenheit, 49 to 54 degrees Celsius, as measured by an instant read meat thermometer. Tip: for medium rare steak, look for a temperature of 135 degrees Fahrenheit, 57 degrees Celsius. 3. Cook the steak for 2-7 minutes if you like it medium. If your steak is 1 inch, 2.5 centimeters, thick, cook it for 2-3 minutes. If it's 1.25 inches, 3.2 centimeters, thick, cook it for 4 or 5 minutes. If it's 1.75 inches, 4.4 centimeters, thick, cook it for 6-7 minutes. Test the steak with an instant read meat thermometer to ensure it reaches a temperature of 140 to 150 degrees Fahrenheit, 60 to 66 degrees Celsius. 4. Cook the steak for 4-9 minutes if you like it medium well. If your steak is 1 inch, 2.5 centimeters, thick, cook it for 4 or 5 minutes. If it's 1.25 inches, 3.2 centimeters, thick, cook it for 6-7 minutes. If it's 1.75 inches, 4.4 centimeters, thick, cook it for 8-9 minutes. Use an instant read meat thermometer to test the steak for a temperature of 150 to 160 degrees Fahrenheit, 66 to 71 degrees Celsius. Want your steak well done? Shoot for a temperature of 160 degrees Fahrenheit, 71 degrees Celsius. 1. Let the steak rest for 3-10 minutes. Use an oven mitt to remove the skillet from the oven, then turn off the oven. Transfer the steak to a cutting board or plate so that the heat of the skillet doesn't continue to cook it. Let the steak rest for 3 minutes minimum or 10 minutes maximum to give the meat time to absorb the juices. If you cut the steak immediately, the juices will spill out and the steak will be drier. The resting period of the steak is very important and can change the outcome of your steak dramatically. Although your steak will no longer be in the oven, it will continue to cook as it's resting. For this reason, you should consider taking your steak out of the oven a little before it reaches your desired internal temperature. 2. Cut the steak diagonally, if desired. If you want, you can slice the steak diagonally before serving it. Use a sharp knife and a secure cutting board. Cutting it diagonally will result in the most tender meat. 3. Serve the steak on warm plates. To preserve the temperature of the steak, it's a great idea to serve it on warm plates. Simply put oven-safe plates in the still warm, but turned off, oven for 2-5 minutes, and remove them carefully with oven mitts. Refrigerate any leftovers in an airtight container for 3-4 days. Tips: if your broiler heating element keeps turning off because it is up to temperature, you can trick your oven into keeping it on by propping the door of the oven open slightly. Warnings: always wash your hands and disinfect kitchen surfaces after handling raw meat. Things you'll need: cast iron skillet, oven mitts, cutting board, sharp knife, warm plates, airtight container for leftover.